So chances are you finished Charlie Kaufman's I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and at the end of it, you're a little confused at what you just watched. I was too. Obviously, this is going to have spoilers, so if you were looking for just a review without any spoilers, then I have linked it up in the corner up here and in the description below. As with any of my explanation videos, I don't profess to know everything. I'm probably going to get some wrong. I hopefully get some right, but really what I'm hoping is that we open up a discussion. And so I would love to know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Share what you think it is. I mean, maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree, maybe you have some different points of view, and maybe I'm asking some things later on in this where I just don't know. And so this is your chance also to enlighten me. I love learning from the community so that we can all get a better understanding of what we just watched. So first, what is really the point of the film? Everything that we are watching, except for the very end, is all in Jake's mind. He's recounting a love that never was, but he's also taking a look at the regret in his life and ultimately his sad life itself. And really the title says it all. I'm thinking of ending things. Well, this is Jake's internal discussion and just him working through things of whether or not he's going to take his own life. So who is this girl? The young woman is how she's identified in the credits. And she's basically every woman or no woman and even part of Jake himself. And you'll notice that she takes on several names throughout the movie. And most of the time, I mean, she never refers to herself as that, but this is how Jake refers to her. So one time it was Lucia and Lucy even, and so it takes on a couple of different forms. But she also, in addition to those names, she takes on different professions or different specialties as we get to know her and as the film progresses. She's some sort of scientist, she's also a physicist, an artist, a poet, and she's probably one or two other things as well. She's most likely a missed love of Jake's. I mean, she could be somebody that he knew or maybe even somebody he just saw. And so as he's going through his life and he's re-examining all of these things and what could have been, he's placing her in this. Which leads me to why does she keep changing? I mean, we watch her clothes change sometimes, like, sweater on, sweater off, pearls at one point, and again, her name and even her profession or what she does. And I think this is because Jake is trying to figure out which version of her fits with his life best. So as different scenarios happen, like at the dinner table and even their story, I mean, that changes also how they met. He is trying her out. He's in his mind working through her and placing her as, well, maybe she's a scientist. And so we have this type of thing in common. Or maybe she's an artist because she sees the beauty in things. Maybe she's a poet and she can recite poems to me and we have this shared love of the written word. So as he's working through this, he's trying to make a connection. And that way then he can really determine which version of her makes him the happiest and becomes the love of his life. And we see, I mean, she recites the poem. And then later in the film, she picks up a book inside Jake's childhood room that shows the poem that she had recited earlier, that she said was hers. She also shows pictures to his parents on her phone of supposed paintings that she's done. But later, as the young woman goes down into the basement, she sees these paintings mixed in with Jake's paintings. So see, he's also an artist or an aspiring artist or somebody who dabbles in painting at least. And so he's trying to see, well, if we have this in common, does this connect and does this make us click and make us soulmates? And can she make me happy? And going back to that she's probably part of Jake or just a portion of him is in her, and that's why he's also trying to figure out how she works within him, is when they're looking at the picture on the wall of the red-haired kid. And he's like, don't you recognize that? That's me. And she's like, no, that's me. Well, they're both right. And I think that also shows why, like in the car, it seems like Jake could hear her thoughts. Like she would say something and he'd be like, what? Or he would respond in a different way. And so he is part of her, or she is really part of him, because she doesn't exist. All of these things that we're watching are all inside his head. In addition to the young woman changing, I mean, the house keeps changing too, and everything within it. And that's because this is Jake's house. I mean, this is where he grew up. It's his childhood home. His parents are there. And what I believe happened is that he never left, that he just grew up, grew older, took care of his aging parents, and now he's there living alone, and he's just in his sadness. He goes about his life as the janitor, just kind of going through life. I mean, he's trudging along and not happy and lamenting the fact that he doesn't have this love in his life, that there is this sadness that is so great that he is in his mind creating scenarios and creating people, and well, really just one person, and trying to match her to what he thinks love is. And we see his uniforms in the washing machine, so we know that this is his house, and this is what also ties him to being the janitor, and I'll talk about a little bit about that in just a minute. But we see the rooms and the decor drastically change, and things just kind of happen. Like when he lights the fire, boom, it just goes. Why? Because it's all in his head, and he is still trying out different scenarios, even with the young woman, but now it's in the house as well. One of the scenes that I loved is the young woman going down the stairs and that looping where she is just having this conversation. She goes down the stairs, around the landing, and down the stairs, and then here she comes back from up there. And I love the audio in that because it gets softer, and it just, I mean, you truly hear her traveling throughout the stairs. But this is Jake working through his thoughts because the home holds all of these different memories. Some are fear, some are anger, some is regret, despair, probably even some love and laughter also. This is why we also see his parents go through a lot of changes as well. I mean, one of the most drastic ones is just during the dinner conversation, where it seems stunted and it seems like, oh, we're missing something, or, you know, maybe that was a weird edit. But no, it's truly Jake, again, trying out different scenarios. I mean, there are these series of memories or could have beens that are running through his mind. And really, if you look at the emotion that's on Jake's face, most of what we're seeing is discomfort or anger. It's interesting to watch, though, as the young woman changes to try and kind of please the parents, and just that whole awkward conversation that they're having. And even the parents change a little bit, and they're nervously laughing. And at first I thought, well, gosh, is this some like weird Twilight Zone movie where Jesse Plemons is controlling everything and that they're really afraid of him? Well, he is controlling everything because it's all in his mind, but they're not necessarily afraid of him. It's him just working out these scenarios. Another clue also that this is all going on in Jake's mind is, think about the calls that the young woman receives. First off, they all come up with different names every time she looks at her phone. And so those are coinciding with the names that he has given her. So again, it's kind of, even her friends are her, which is a little bit weird, but the voicemails that she get sound amazingly like Jake's voice. And so we're hearing more of his thoughts, more of him working out these different scenarios and placing her in there to really figure out, why am I so sad? Or where did my life go wrong? Or I want you to be this way. So I mentioned before that the uniforms that we see in the washing machine do tie in with Jake being the janitor. And I think that's really the clue that we have to make it, because otherwise we don't really know who the janitor is, and there's no tie to why these clothes would be in the washing machine in their house, because we know the parents aren't the janitor. And the young woman doesn't live in that house, so they're not hers either. So that then lets us into the psyche of him. We see him, Jake, as the older man, as he's trudging along in this janitorial job. And we hear different comments from him where, you know, it's this, I spent my days at the school or with these kids, or the agony, or whatever words he used. There's just not happiness that's coming from that. We see that it is mundane existence, and he's not having fun. There's no meaning in his life, and there's no more connection that he has. I know the musical Oklahoma is playing a big part in this, because not only do we see scenes from the play, there's also the dialogue at the end that Jesse Plemons does as Jake, with kind of the weird old face mask, or the weird makeup that makes him look old but fake old, and the whole audience also. And there's also the part in the car where he recites a portion of that. But I've not seen the play, so I can't really speak to its importance. So that's where I'm hoping that you can help me out there. That if you've seen it, or you know what was being referenced, that it has to have a large importance to it. But I don't know. I like how the young woman and Jake also have the discussion of A Woman Under the Influence, that film, because what that is a film about a woman who is having just a mental breakdown or mental illness, and it's affecting her family. And so how does that speak to Jake then also? As he is getting older, and maybe his faculties are beginning to go, or maybe he's just, what we're watching is not only him contemplating his own mortality, but it's also him kind of slipping into a delusional state where maybe he's just losing his grip on reality. And so this is all of the visual stuff that we're watching as he's reliving things, or as they could have been, or maybe as how he wished they would have been. The soda fountain scene was cool and weird all at the same time. It appears to be a memory from Jake's past. Maybe it's from a time where Jake was a teenager and there are failed relationships, because we see that he can't look them in the eye. He doesn't want to spend any time with them. So maybe they're kids from his past when he was a teenager or just around their same age, and there were awkward interactions there. Maybe there were missed opportunities at romance or even friendships. Or maybe they're the representations of the kids that he sees at the school while he's the janitor. I mean, there are points while we watch him doing his janitor thing where he's creeping on the kids. And that's weird and odd and pretty disgusting. So maybe he's ashamed of that behavior, or maybe that's why they say they feel in danger. That they know that he is not really the stablest of persons, and he is just creepily looking at them and staring at them as he goes about his business, which really at any point in time, somebody just kind of looking at you and staring at you is going to cause some unease and going to put you just, guard up and stay away from that person. And if you're at a school and you're the student and it's an adult looking at that, well, it might be time to call the cops. So we get to this final scene where it's that weird dance scene. And this is really Jake going through his final emotions. He's hit that final stage of sadness, and the dance is really representing again what his life could have been. I mean, it's flowing and it's beautiful and it's very happy, and he's with one person and they're just having a blast as they move through the hallways, not really a care in the world. It's truly his fantasy self. But then we see him come in and we see him fight himself, his fantasy self, whom he then kills. So his fantasy self is then dead, covered in snow, and he's left there just with his sadness. And that's when Jake then really has decided to succumb to all of this sadness, this grief, this despair maybe that he's in, the depression. And he strips down, literally and figuratively, and that's when he wanders off, through the snow into the school with the giant pig who's talking to him. But at that point, he's going to be exactly like the pig, which is maggot food. And that's it. The loneliness and the regret are too much. And Jake has gone from thinking of ending things to actually ending things. And when he does that, his pain and sadness can finally end. So what did I miss? What did I get right? What did I get wrong? I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Let's continue this discussion going on. If you heard the little tinkling sounds throughout the video, that's because my dog, Buddy the Brave, was wandering around and, he just wanted to be part of it, but he didn't actually want to get on the camera. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.